If you're watching this video, you've probably already felt that spine-chilling sensation that something was terribly wrong, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. Maybe you spent months or even years wondering why you felt so exhausted, so empty, so broken after interacting with a specific person. I'm going to tell you a truth that will shock you. You weren't imagining things, you weren't being dramatic, and you definitely weren't crazy. You were being systematically destroyed by an emotional predator who uses tactics so cruel and calculated that they could be considered a form of psychological warfare. Wayne Dyer, the renowned psychologist and author, dedicated part of his career to studying these destructive patterns, and what he discovered will leave you speechless. Narcissists aren't just difficult or selfish people. They are highly trained emotional vampires who follow an invisible manual of human destruction. And the 5 tactics I'm going to reveal today are so effective that they can transform the most confident person in the world into a shadow of themselves in a matter of months. If you've ever felt like you were losing your sanity, if you've ever questioned your own reality, or if you've ever caught yourself thinking, maybe I'm the problem, then you need to watch until the end. Because what you're about to discover could literally save your emotional life. The first cruel tactic that narcissists use is something I call the distorted mirror. And man, this one is devastating. You know when you look in those funhouse mirrors that make you look all twisted, fat, or too skinny? That's exactly what the narcissist does to your self-image, only in a much more subtle and destructive way. They start by studying you like a scientist studies a lab rat. They observe your insecurities, your fears, your weak points, your deepest vulnerabilities. And then, with surgical precision, they begin to distort your perception of who you really are. At first, it might even seem like genuine concern. Wow, are you sure that outfit is flattering on you? Or, don't you think you reacted a bit over the top there? But these seemingly innocent observations are poisonous seeds being planted in your mind. Wayne Dyer used to say that our reality is shaped by our perception, and the narcissist knows this better than any psychologist. They don't attack you directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, they attack your perception of yourself. Over time, you begin to see yourself through their distorted eyes. Your qualities become flaws, your achievements become lucky breaks, your intuition becomes paranoia, your sensitivity becomes unnecessary drama. The cruelest part is that they do this with a smile on their face, often disguised as help or honesty. I'm just trying to help you improve, they say, while systematically destroying your self-esteem. And you know what's most frightening? You start to thank them for it. You start to believe that this person is the only one who truly understands you, the only one brave enough to tell you the truth. You become addicted to their validation because they were the ones responsible for taking away your internal validation in the first place. It's a perfect vicious cycle. They break your internal mirror and then offer themselves as the only mirror you can use to see yourself. Except that mirror is completely distorted in their favor. By the way, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching this video from? I'm curious to know where the people who most need to hear these truths are located. But this is just the first tactic. The second is even more sinister because it attacks something that should be sacred. And you'll discover what that is in just a moment. The second tactic is what I call emotional hijacking, and brace your heart because this one's going to hurt. Narcissists are masters at identifying and hijacking your deepest emotions. They don't just want to control your behavior, they want to own your feelings. At the beginning of the relationship, they do something that seems magical. They seem to understand you better than you understand yourself. They know exactly when you're sad before you even realize it. They can read your emotions like they have a secret manual to your soul. But here's the macabre secret. They're not being empathetic. They're collecting data. Every tear you shed, every moment of vulnerability, every time you opened your heart, all of this becomes ammunition for future use. Wayne Dyer taught that our emotions are our internal navigation system. They guide us, protect us, connect us with our essence. But the narcissist corrupts this sacred system. They begin to be the only source of emotional relief in your life. When you're sad, only they can console you. When you're happy, only they can share in that joy in a true way. When you're confused, only they have the answers. But here's the diabolical trap. They're also responsible for causing most of your negative emotional states. They create the problem and then present themselves as the solution. They light the fire and then offer themselves as the only available firefighters. You become emotionally dependent on them in a way you can't even explain. Your emotions no longer belong to you. They belong to the relationship. You can no longer feel genuine joy without them. You can no longer process sadness without their help. The cruelest part is that they make you believe this is love. No one will understand you like I understand you, they whisper. No one will love you with all your flaws like I love you, and you believe it, because at this point, they really are the only ones who can intensely affect your emotions. They become your emotional dealer, and just like any addiction, each time you need bigger doses to feel the same effect. Each time you need to humiliate yourself more, accept more disrespect, ignore more red flags, just to have access to your own emotions. But wait until you discover the third tactic. Because if the first two attack your perception and your emotions, the third attacks something even more fundamental. The third tactic is perhaps the most dangerous of all, the murder of intuition. And when you understand how this works, many things in your life will start to make sense. Your intuition is your natural superpower. It's that inner voice that warns you when something isn't right, that protects you from danger, that guides you to the right decisions. Wayne Dyer called intuition the voice of God whispering in your ear. It's sacred, it's powerful, and that's exactly why the narcissist needs to destroy it. At first, your internal antennas sound alarms about this person. Something doesn't add up. Something doesn't make sense. Your gut churns, your heart races, your mind screams danger. But then comes the narcissist with their heavy artillery. You're being paranoid. You're imagining things. You have trust issues because of your past. You're being dramatic. You need to learn to relax. And every time you ignore your intuition to give them the benefit of the doubt, you're literally killing your internal protection system. It's like turning off your house alarm system and leaving the door open for thieves. They are masters of intuitive gaslighting. Every time your instinct screams, they have a logical and convincing explanation to make you question your own perception. You misunderstood. I never said that. You're being too sensitive. The most insidious part is that they use your own goodness against you. They know you're a good person, that you want to believe the best in people, so they turn your intuition into a character flaw. Having suspicions becomes being a bad person. Questioning strange behaviors becomes not knowing how to love. Over time, you stop trusting yourself completely. That inner voice that always protected you becomes a whisper, then total silence. You become a person who walks through life without a compass, without a navigation system, completely vulnerable to any predator that appears. And you know what's most frightening? When your intuition finally dies, you no longer feel the danger. You become like a bird with clipped wings that no longer knows it can fly. Situations that would have previously caused you discomfort now seem normal. Behaviors that were once unacceptable are now just his way. You stop trusting yourself and start blindly trusting them. And this is exactly the condition they need you to be in to apply the fourth tactic, which is even more devastating. The fourth tactic is a masterpiece of psychological manipulation, the manufacturing of guilt. And when you understand how this works, you'll feel like you're waking up from a nightmare. Narcissists are emotional alchemists. They can transform any situation, no matter how clearly they are in the wrong, into proof that you are the problem. It's a skill so refined it seems magical, but it's actually pure behavioral science applied for evil. Let's imagine a simple situation. They arrive 2 hours late to your date without warning, without apologizing. Your first instinct is to be upset, right? It's a completely normal and justified reaction. But then the alchemy begins. Wow, you've been really stressed lately. I was dealing with a serious problem, but I see you only think about yourself. If you really loved me, you'd understand that sometimes unexpected things happen. You're being too controlling. Within minutes, what was a clear situation of disrespect on their part transforms into a therapy session about your control issues and your lack of understanding. Wayne Dyer taught that guilt is one of the most destructive emotions that exist because it corrodes our self-esteem from within. And the narcissist uses this as an emotional chemical weapon. They don't just make you feel guilty for situations where you are clearly the victim. They make you feel guilty for having normal human feelings. Did you get sad? You're being too dramatic. Did you get happy? You're being insensitive to my difficult moment. Did you stay quiet? You're punishing me with the silent treatment. The cruelest part is that they do this with a mastery that would make Shakespeare weep. They don't attack you directly. They attack your lack of something, lack of understanding, lack of maturity, lack of love, lack of patience, always lacking. You're never enough. And you know what the most diabolical part is? They make you feel grateful when they stop making you feel guilty. When they occasionally forgive you for something you didn't even do, you feel relief. When they occasionally don't turn a simple situation into a drama about your flaws, you feel lucky. You start walking on eggshells all the time, constantly monitoring yourself, censoring yourself, policing yourself, trying to be a better person so you don't give them reasons to manufacture more guilt. You become a prisoner of guilt that doesn't even exist. But prepare your heart, because the fifth and final tactic is the most destructive of all. It's the final blow that transforms everything you were into a haunted shadow of what you could have been. The fifth and most devastating tactic is what I call identity vampirism. And this is the rotten cherry on top of the poisonous cake, because it doesn't just attack who you are, it steals who you are. Narcissists are identity collectors. They observe brilliant people, people with their own light, people with magnetic personalities, and they do something frightening. They begin to suck that essence for themselves. Do you remember how you were before you met this person? Do you remember your passions, your dreams, your strong opinions, your unique way of seeing the world? Do you remember how you laughed, how you danced, how you shined when you talked about the things you loved? Identity vampirism is a slow and imperceptible process. They don't steal your personality all at once. That would be too obvious. Instead, they drain you drop by drop, day after day, until you wake up one day and no longer recognize yourself in the mirror. They start subtly questioning your passions. Are you sure you really like this? Don't you think you're wasting time with this nonsense? Mature people don't do this kind of thing. Gradually, you start abandoning the things that made you happy. Then they attack your opinions. Every time you express your own idea, they have a way of making you feel ignorant or naive. You don't understand how the world works. You're too idealistic. You need to be more realistic. Gradually, you stop having your own opinions. Wayne Dyer always said that we are unique spiritual beings, each with a special light to shine in the world. But the narcissist can't tolerate your light because it outshines their darkness. So they do something disturbing. They start using your light as if it were theirs. Your jokes become their jokes. Your ideas become their ideas. Your dreams become projects they're going to realize together, but always with them at the center. Your way of being becomes the way they like you to be, not the way you naturally are. The most frightening part is that you start to feel empty when you're not near them. Not because you miss them specifically, but because they literally stole pieces of your essence. You feel like a ghost of the person you used to be. They become experts on who you are, while you become a stranger to yourself. They know your preferences better than you do. They know your flaws better than you do. They know what's best for you better than you do. And when you finally try to reclaim your identity, they accuse you of changing, of no longer being the person they fell in love with. But the truth is that the person they fell in love with never existed. It was just an edited version of you that they created for their own consumption. You become a character in a play, directed by them, playing a version of yourself that you don't even recognize anymore. And the cruelest part is that you lose the memory of who you really were. After being exposed to these 5 cruel tactics, most people don't immediately realize the damage that has been done. It's like coming out of a fire. At first, you're so focused on surviving that you don't see the burns. Only later, when the smoke clears, can you assess the devastation. The signs are subtle at first, but devastating when you stop to analyze them. You notice that you stop trusting your own judgment about simple situations. "Am I overreacting?" becomes your favorite phrase. "Maybe I'm imagining things" becomes your daily mantra. Your vital energy, that force that made you wake up excited to live life, simply disappears. You feel constantly exhausted, even when you haven't done anything physically tiring. It's as if someone had installed a drain in your energy tank that never stops draining. Wayne Dyer used to say that when we are aligned with our true essence, we feel light and expansive. But after narcissistic vampirism, you feel heavy, contracted, as if you were carrying an invisible burden everywhere you go. Your relationships with other people begin to change in worrying ways. You become more distrustful, more defensive, more closed off. Not because you want to, but because your internal protection system is completely dysregulated. You can no longer distinguish between genuine people and potential threats. The most frightening thing is the loss of spontaneous joy. Do you remember when you could laugh at silly things? Do you remember when you could get emotional about simple things like a sunset or a beautiful song? This ability to feel pure and simple pleasure simply disappears. You develop constant hypervigilance. You're always analyzing every word, every tone of voice, every facial expression of the people around you, looking for signs of disapproval or rejection. It's exhausting to live like this, but you can't turn it off. Your personal dreams and ambitions become blurred, as if someone had put a gray filter over your vision of the future. Things that used to excite you now seem impossible or childish. You stop dreaming big because you stop believing you deserve big things. Self-compassion becomes a strange concept. You become the hardest person on yourself, always blaming yourself, always questioning yourself, always assuming that if something went wrong, the fault must be yours somehow. The narcissist's voice becomes your internal voice, and perhaps the most devastating of all, you stop recognizing yourself when you look in the mirror, not physically, but emotionally. The person looking back doesn't have the same light in their eyes, doesn't have the same confidence in their posture, doesn't have the same vibrant essence they used to have. But here's a truth that can change your life. None of this is permanent. Your light wasn't destroyed, just hidden. Your essence wasn't stolen, just suppressed. The good news that will make your heart race with hope is this: everything that was stolen can be recovered. Every light that was obscured can shine again. Wayne Dyer taught that our true essence is indestructible. It can be temporarily eclipsed, but never permanently erased. The first step to recovery is something that will be difficult at first. You need to accept that you were manipulated, not because you're stupid, weak, or naive, but because you're human, and humans are naturally trusting and kind. The narcissist exploited your most beautiful qualities against you. Stop blaming yourself for having allowed this to happen. You didn't allow anything. You were the victim of a psychological war that you didn't even know was happening. It's like blaming someone for being poisoned when they didn't even know the food was contaminated. The second step is rebuilding your relationship with your own intuition. Start small. When you feel that something isn't right, even if it's about something trivial, honor that feeling. You don't need to act drastically. Just acknowledge, I'm feeling something strange here, and that's valid. Wayne Dyer had a powerful exercise. Every day, do one thing just because you want to, not because someone expects you to do it. It could be taking a shower with hotter water, listening to a song that makes you happy, or simply sitting in silence for 5 minutes, feeling your own breathing. Gradually, recover your passions. Remember those things you used to love. Give yourself permission to like them again. If someone made you believe that your interests were silly or childish, know that this person was projecting their own inability to feel genuine joy. Practice self-compassion as if it were an atrophied muscle that needs to be strengthened. When you catch yourself being cruel to yourself, pause and ask, would I talk this way to my best friend? If the answer is no, then don't talk to yourself that way. Surround yourself with people who make you remember who you really are. There are people in the world who will see your light even when you can't see it. These people are sacred mirrors that reflect your truth back to you when your own internal mirror is broken. Establish firm boundaries, even if they feel strange at first. You don't need to be rude or aggressive, just firm. No is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me is a valid position. I need to think about it is a mature response. And here's the secret that will accelerate your recovery. Start trusting your ability to feel when something is good for you. Your body knows, your heart knows, your soul knows. Around genuine people, you feel light. Around toxic people, you feel heavy. Recovery isn't linear. There will be difficult days, moments of doubt, emotional relapses. But every small step back to yourself is a victory. Now that you understand how the narcissistic destruction manual works, you need to develop your early detection system. Because the best defense against emotional vampires is never letting them get close enough to sink their fangs in. The first warning sign that should turn on all the red lights in your head is excessively intense love bombing at the beginning. When someone puts you on a pedestal too high, too fast, be suspicious. Genuine love grows gradually. Obsession presents itself as instant passion. Wayne Dyer always said to observe how people treat those who can't offer anything in return. How do they treat waiters, janitors, less important people? How do they talk about their exes? If all the exes are crazy or problematic, you'll be the next crazy one on the list. Pay attention to how you feel physically in this person's presence. Does your stomach contract? Do your shoulders tense up for no apparent reason? Do you feel inexplicable anxiety? Your body is sending you danger signals that your rational mind hasn't processed yet. Observe whether they respect when you say no to small things. Someone who doesn't accept a no thank you to a dinner invitation won't accept when you say no to bigger things. Small boundaries are training grounds for big boundaries. Beware of people who make you question your own memory very early in the relationship. Are you sure I said that? I think you misunderstood. If you're constantly apologizing for misunderstandings you didn't make, something is wrong. Observe whether they show genuine empathy when you're going through difficulties. Narcissists can't truly feel your pain. They can only see how your pain affects them. If your problems always become about how they feel, run. Analyze whether they can be genuinely happy with your achievements. Healthy people celebrate your success. Narcissists feel threatened by your happiness and always find a way to diminish or redirect attention to themselves. Pay attention to how they handle constructive criticism or feedback. A mature person can listen, reflect, and when appropriate, genuinely apologize. Narcissists turn any feedback into a personal attack and immediately counterattack. The definitive test: Observe whether they can maintain healthy long-term relationships with other people. If everyone around them eventually distances themselves, if they don't have real friends, if their family relationships are troubled, that's the pattern you'll also experience. And remember, healthy people bring peace to your life, not constant drama. If you're always on an emotional roller coaster, it's not love, it's trauma being disguised as passion. Trust the signs, trust your intuition, trust your inner wisdom. We've reached the end of this revelation journey, but actually, this is just the beginning of your new life. A life where you'll never be caught off guard again, where your light will shine protected, and where you'll be the guardian of your own essence. Wayne Dyer taught that when we know the truth about how destructive patterns work, we gain an almost magical power, the power of emotional immunity. You can't be manipulated by tactics you already know and understand. From today on, you're no longer a potential victim walking unprotected through the world. You're a warrior equipped with knowledge, awareness, and protection strategies. You know how to recognize the signs. You know how to trust your intuition. You know how to value your own essence. Your new mission isn't just to protect yourself, but also to protect other people who don't yet know what you now know. Share this knowledge. Be the voice that will echo in someone's mind when they're being manipulated. Wait, this reminds me of those tactics I learned about. Always remember, you're not responsible for fixing narcissists. You're not responsible for saving people who don't want to be saved. Your only responsibility is to protect and nurture your own light so it can shine in the most beautiful way possible in the world. Your essence, your joy, your intuition, your ability to love and trust, all of this are sacred gifts you brought to this world. Don't allow emotional vampires to steal what is yours by divine right. And when you're fully recovered, fully shielded, fully brilliant, you'll notice something beautiful. Narcissists won't even approach you anymore. Your energy will be so solid, so centered, so radiant that toxic people will feel uncomfortable in your presence. You'll attract people who vibrate at your frequency of authenticity, people who celebrate your light instead of trying to extinguish it, people who add brightness to your life instead of draining your energy. This is your new reality. This is your post-awakening life, and it's more beautiful than you can imagine at this moment. If this video touched your heart, if it helped you understand patterns you were living through, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe to the channel for more content that will continue strengthening your journey of self-knowledge and emotional protection. Remember, you are stronger than you imagine, brighter than they made you believe, and more valuable than any narcissist will ever be able to comprehend. Your light is sacred. Protect it, honor it, and let it shine.